Good evening and welcome to The Business Coach, a show in which you out to help entrepreneurs better their businesses. The show tonight is coming to you from City Lodge Hotel based here at Two Rivers. If you're a family or in business and you're looking for either a place to come and stay or a conference whereby you can just hold it with your fellow entrepreneurs or fellow colleagues, City Lodge is the place to be. On the show tonight, we're going to be exploring a very interesting topic for every entrepreneur out there: fundraising. What do you need to do in order for you to fundraise? How do you fundraise? Where exactly are the investors? And tonight, to enable me just tackle this topic, are entrepreneurs who have been there and done that. That's Hilda Mora, the founder of Possession, and Tesh Mbambu, the founder of Market Force. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. According to African Tech Startups Report 2020, Kenyan startups raised a record 19.1 billion Kenya shillings, which accounts for 27.3% of the continent's total investment. This is the largest amount of fundraising ever received by a single country in the continent. Over 22 companies raised $1 million plus in their rounds. The standard rounds were of Trigger Foods, who raised $29.4 million, and Comanza, who raised $28 million. So from the statistics we just watched, the Kenyan startups raised a whooping 19.1 billion, which is quite an interesting amount. So one of the interesting factors about the startup journey is fundraising. And tonight, on the show, I have a gentleman and a lady who have been at it for quite a while. So I'll just let them introduce themselves. On my left, I have Hilda Mora, founder of Possession. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Ian. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much. Tesh Mbambu, I've known you for quite a while.
Yes, it's great to see you, man.
It's been quite interesting. So let's just to start off the conversation, maybe we can start with you, Hilda. Maybe you can tell us a bit about Possession. How did it all start? How exactly has it morphed over the years?
No, great. Thanks. So basically, Possession started, from my previous experiences. I've been in the fintech space for more than 10 years. Just looking at that journey, what works, what doesn't work, what are some of the opportunities that could basically help to, continue to enhance our financial sector, which is where my passion is. By training, I'm an engineer, software engineer. Basically, I found myself in finance, where tech meet finance was really the exciting part for me. And so, having done a fintech company before, was a tele, and made a lot of mistakes, just figuring out from start to end until the point the company was acquired in 2015. And for me now with Possession, it was, what are the bigger opportunities I saw? And of course, one was providing working capital, affordable working capital to SMEs, and how you do that in a sustainable way, because in the end, they are the biggest job creators for this country. And so for me, using tech and finance to enable working capital for small businesses who have been underserved and excluded, by the formal financial systems, was really the opportunity we've seen in Possession. And so far, so good. And with the past mistakes, I think that has been the art and craft to building Possession to what it is now.
We have been seeing it on media, how well you guys are doing. Tash, on your end, Market Force. I saw the other day you guys raised a round with Y Combinator, and you've been at it for quite a while. And I know I've known you from a previous end of business world. How exactly has your journey been?
Yeah, so my business journey has been exciting. So I graduated from the University of Nairobi with a computer science degree. My co-founder and I knew that we wanted to help businesses get into the digital age. So that's where really our passion lies. So we started several businesses before Market Force, but Market Force was born 3 years ago. And the space we saw was in the African retail and distribution space. So you have millions of retail outlets, what we call dukas, acting as distribution points for essential goods. So just figuring out how can these people be served better, because when we're able to aggregate orders from a number of manufacturers, then it makes the process very efficient for delivering to retailers, and digitizing these retailers enables them to also access working finance, which is something Hilda and I are working on together. So just enabling trade to be much more efficient, because largely it's informal today.
Interesting. Just take me through your journey in terms of setting up Market Force. I know previously you'd tried other businesses before you got into setting up Market Force. How did you go about it? How did you raise capital to set up the business? Or did you just start and then over the years now you went into fundraising? How did it go about?
Yeah, so when we started, we really wanted to understand the problem and the market for which we were solving. So what we call it in the tech world is bootstrapping. So that basically means you customers fund your operations. So we'd go out, find customers, build software solutions for them, mobile apps for them, and we'd invest that capital into market force. So the initial 1.5 years, we largely did that. And then we've got to a point where our product was getting a lot of adoption in the market. And that is at the point at which we decided, let's raise external funding and scale it up. And we were successful at that.
Interesting. And Hilda, from your experience running startups and just scaling startups and even exiting from one, at what particular point should one decide to fundraise when they're actually in their startup phase? At what particular point should one do that?
Fundraising is a process. You have to, sit down as a founder, and look at the table while it's still, plain, and ask, do I have the right ingredients, to really do a proper fundraising? It starts with, do you have the right structures and processes in place? Do you have a prototype, a product, something? You just can't go and say, I want to raise money with just an idea. Everyone has an idea, including, my own mother. If I call her today, she's going to tell me, I have 10 ideas. Can you help me to implement them? So what makes, one different is in the execution. The job is in the execution. Do you have a team, which is actually almost 100% of the job, who is backing you, who is working with you to help to execute this idea? You can't do it alone. Of course, also, do you have mentors to guide you and navigate, how do you go about, the process? Where do you go? Who do you talk to, depending on your industry and your market analysis? And then, of course, lastly is, do you have a plan? And a lot of people, young people, come to me and say, can you help us meet investors and find them so that I can start executing my idea? So exactly. So I ask them, absolutely. So, I ask them, do you have a plan? What are the goals you want to achieve with this business? And they are like, no, I don't have. So what are you going to sell to them? And they say, when I get there, I will sell. So it doesn't work like that. So it's really important that you put this plan, because it's going to also guide you on the kind of investors you need to talk to. So I think there's quite a lot of preparation and work that needs to be done before you even start thinking about fundraising.
Interesting. Josh had mentioned about bootstrapping, which is a key element in the startup world. When you start off, you just have no money. But Hilda here was mentioning in terms of before getting investment, just getting your house in order. But how have you gotten your house in order in your initial years to ensure that you're investor ready?
First of all, it starts with the problem. It's very important that you have validation in the market, in the sense that, so for us, I'll give a practical example. We talked to a customer before we had a product, and the customer said, if you build this, I will pay. Or in some instances, they're even willing to pay you to build it. And that's what we did. So within 8 weeks of launching Market Force, we already had revenue. And that enabled us, with a very small team of 3, which something she alluded to, a team is very important. We're able to get the ball rolling. As you build the product, iterate, very customer-driven approach, making sure you're solving the problem that they have, then you're able to get similar businesses that have the same problem. And then other important thing is just thinking about scalability, because you need to build a business that has a large enough addressable market. And sometimes that's where people go wrong, or entrepreneurs go wrong, because investors will not invest in your business if they cannot see the potential of you signing 10 or 100 or 1,000 more customers. So that's how we went about it. We were sure that there's a big enough market for what we're building, went for it, and then raised funding after.
Interesting. And speaking about scalability, Pezesha, you guys are all over Africa. You're speaking about the Ghana market is bigger than the Kenyan market. How exactly have you gone about scaling Pezesha over the years?
Yeah, so I mean, a startup has, many stages before you get to scale and grow. And I think for us, we've been very intentional about, every stage of our growth as Pezesha. From the moment we started the business, build a foundation, started building our lending infrastructure, we've iterated. It's a very agile process to be at the point where you can say now you have a product market fit. You have paying customers, you have strategic partners who you can scale with, you have revenue, residual revenue coming in into the business every month, you can pay your expenses and you can, make a profit out of it. And so for us, that was already the aha moment to tell us we can now grow this business. This was in the midst of COVID last year. And so, we took advantage of that, and we started looking at markets where, working capital needs are really, at the top of, their priority. And of course, financing gap is cutting across Africa. SMEs are excluded across Africa. We're talking of more than $328 billion financing gap across Africa. So, you can almost take this solution everywhere, and contextualizing the problems of that particular market. And so for us, Ghana was very intentional because already we had a strategic partner in that market, UNCDF. And so we took advantage of that to understand the environment there, and really to go in and ask the SMEs and the merchants, how do we support you? And of course, this was very handy during COVID. Majority of them were closing shop, cash flow issues. And so, we came in, rescued them with a lot of partnerships, local partnerships on the ground. And so, for us, how we've defined scale is it's a collaboration effort. We don't go into a market and say we know it all. We look for strategic partners who can help us to, enable that working capital. So we work with payment providers, we work with merchant providers, we work with SME networks, cooperatives, anyone who has, that access to those businesses. We collaborate with them, and then we empower them with our technology, and the magic happens. So it's been just replicating that in many markets, and now East Africa, across Africa, and we're excited that we've been able to fund, more than 100,000 SMEs, just within COVID, and now really helping them to grow and scale.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So people are saying that COVID is the pandemic, and people are actually making moves.
Exactly. it's an opportunity. It's a blessing in disguise.
There's always a blessing in disguise. On that particular note, you're going to take a short commercial break. My goodness, this conversation is moving so fast. The way it's so sweet. But don't touch that dial. I'll see you after the break.